Newcastle and then Erie, they just kept moving me further north for some reason. And for the last 17, I've been in extension ministry settings, which is anything that is outside of a congregational setting, believing that ministry also happens most frequently outside of the walls of a congregation. So I work for a public education reform movement, organized Northwest PA area and the statewide faith voice around public education reform, the crazy notion that a kid's zip code should not determine the quality of one's education. I know, really? Wow. Then I worked directing the National Children's Sabbath Campaign for Children's Defense Fund in Washington, D.C., and for the last 12 years have been with Consumer Health Coalition, directing their advocacy and consumer engagement program. And again, that zip code thing, of course, the zip code should not determine the health and wellness of one's life, but sadly that does as well. So it's a pleasure for me to be with you today and to bring the word that we will receive and hear together. Remember elementary school? Now I confess for some of us that's a long trip in the way, way back machine. But one of the real neat things about elementary school was school field trip days. Remember those? Those were great. School field trip days, you had to sign a permission slip. Your mom would pack you lunch in a brown bag. They'd slip you a couple of dollars to say, here you go, buy a souvenir. And prior to boarding the bus, what happened? You were assigned a field trip friend. That was your bus buddy, your field trip friend. And you would go side by side, you'd sit together on the bus, and when you arrived at the destination, wherever you were going for your field trip, you were told in the great words of Robert Fulghum and his wonderful essay, Everything I Learned in Kindergarten. Everything I need to know I learned in kindergarten, to hold hands and to stick together. Wise advice for us many, many years past those kindergarten days. And together with your field trip friend, you saw the sights, you ate your lunch, you looked after each other, making sure that your field trip friend got back on the bus safely. And the journey concluded with your field trip friend back to school. The experience was a mini lesson in responsibility and in looking after one another. One took it very seriously to make sure that when you got back on the bus and the call was shouted and counted off, your field trip friend yelled out whatever number was assigned him or her, made safely back on the bus for the journey back to school and back to home. Be it a field trip, a work project, a mission, a ministry, we need each other for conversation, for companionship, for support, and for sharing in the work. It's how we are made. God knows this, and the Christ exemplified this, be it the 12, or the 70, or the hundreds, or the thousands, or the millions. The model for the church has always been going through it and doing it together. In our times in these days of being and becoming church more fully, we don't remember sermons. We don't. We don't remember Sunday school lessons. What we remember are those times we were in it together. We remember teaching vacation Bible school at what always seemed to be the hottest, most humid week of the year. I wanted to give some pride to the folks to come visit as I grow small. In true John F. Kennedy style, where we will celebrate the 50 years of the lunar landing in 2 weeks from now, one of our youth, Jason, kind of gave us a charge and a deadline to it. Now, I got to clue you in on Jason. Jason at the time was probably about 16 or 17. He was one of the kids in the youth group that always was, "Where's Jason?" He was that type. Keep an eye on Jason. And for an example, a little insight into Jason's character, one time we would take the youth, the senior high, and we'd go to Cedar Point. Gotta have fun. Gotta have joy. And part of the deal was there's a Lutheran church there that would get you reduced tickets to the park. And you would go and stay overnight in the church and then get up and go to the park and go home. Pretty good deal, right? So we would go out and do this, and there would be other youth groups from other parts of the country that would be there too. And one night I'm sleeping on the church floor. It's probably 1:32 in the morning and I'm woken up. I'm like, it's never good. Dear little Jason had been caught outside of the building with a couple of the youth from another youth group somewhere in the country. So I get up and I confess I'm surly. It's 2 in the morning. And I go out and I say, "Jason, what are you doing?" And Jason said, "Sal, you have to understand, I was just sharing with her my faith." "Oh, well, Jason, if it was an evangelism moment, then by all means, stay out all night." This was the type of kid we were dealing with. And Jason, at that moment, had a very Kennedy-esque thing. He said this quote, he said, "Well, we're going to repair, we're going to paint this house, and we'll have it done by the end of the week." Thank you, Jason. Did I mention the house was 4 stories high? It hadn't seen a coat of paint in many a year, and the windows and the doors were in drastic need of replacement or repair, and we were a crew of 8. Yet we had a mission, we had a deadline, and we had a job to complete. At the end of the week, standing in front of her newly painted house, her newly repaired house, definitely kind of back to its original splendor, with doors hung and windows secure and paint newly attached and glistening in that summer sun, Grace absolutely blinked. And Grace went over to Jason, who clearly became kind of like that team leader. And Grace went up to Jason, she gave him a hug, and she gave him a little kiss on the cheek. And she grabbed Jason's face in her hands and she said to him, "You, son, are an answer to prayer. You, son, are an answer to prayer." Now, obviously, that was a soul-growing moment for Jason. And of course, in youth group, you could never, ever discipline Jason ever again. Because if you'd say, "Jason, don't do that," Jason would say, "Whatever, man, I'm an answer to prayer." The work of the church, the mission of we followers of the Christ are to always and in every action and encounter to remember who it is that we represent. And I'm intentional pronouncing it represent. We are to be joyful, to enjoy what it is we're doing. I had a parishioner once named Howard, who led the congregation, and I don't know if it happens here, would be in those sniping bright phases of church life. When they'd be sniping and griping, Howard would always gather us together and say, "Now folks, church work isn't bitchy work." We never put that on the front of the bulletin, by the way, but he had a good comment. And always and daily, we must remember that our call, our charge, it isn't a field trip. We're not to go out and see the sights, sing the songs, notice the problems, write a report, and probably feel bad about the state of things in our community, our city, our world. Nope. We're not on a field trip where we offer reports and collect souvenirs that we will present when we go eternal as our kingdom coins. Look at this! What we saw, what we prayed, what we sung about. Look, can I get in? In my Don Quixote world, the windmill that I wail against daily, the windmill that I just want to hack at every day of my life is, where's the church? Where is the church? Where is the church? Why, when we do organizing and talk about how we're going to solve the problems, no one ever mentioned these days, well, what about the church? Who should we get from the church to be involved? That never happens. Where is the church? Persons cut their prescription pills in half, or they store them away in their medicine cabinet, not ever taking the full dose because they can't afford the prescription. Where's the church? Persons, as was mentioned in one of our joys and concerns, in a country of abundance and great wealth, how many are homeless? Prisons have become major business in this country. Prisons have become a big business, and at the expense and by the product of black and brown men and women. And where's the church? And children in this nation on our southern borders are caged. They sleep shivering on cement floors, deciding do I put the blanket over me or under me to try to stay warm. They are fed bologna sandwiches day after day after day, meal after meal after meal. They drink dirty water, and let's be honest, many of them are never ever going to be reunited with their parents. Where's the church? Where is the church? We're right here. We're right here. We're right here, and it's past time for us to get out there and be in it with them and making the change. We are made for mission. We are sent out in pairs sing the hymns. We know the stories. It's time to live the love that we have received. It's time to live and call forth the justice that we know is of God. Congregation, sisters and brothers in Christ, fellow repairers of the breach, it's past time. Where's the church? May we answer by being present in the issues that are impacting our world and our fellow sisters and brothers. Where's the church? We're here with you, in it with you. It's past time to get going. And I made a head on my shirt, but then I put it on the stole. This is always on my little duffel bag, my little backpack that I carry to work each day. You might wonder, why is this woman wearing a train pin? Trains are nice. I like trains. That's not why. It's a conviction pin for me. One of my absolute heroines in this faith walk is Sister Jo Snyder. I love Jo.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She is, and I had an opportunity when I lived and worked in Erie. My spiritual home was with the Benedictine sisters. I love them because they absolutely, to me, live what is the faith. They were unbelievably hospitable. Anytime there was any justice issue, we called them the Bennies. The Bennies showed up. And when they did, it was like, oh, raise your game, the Bennies are here, time to get serious. They have been influential in my own spiritual walk, my own spiritual being. And I had an opportunity, talk to me after, you should go for this, where it was a writer's workshop, very cool. I've had the opportunity to do it twice. And you go and you sit around the table with Jo Snyder, reading one of her books and then talking with her about it. It's amazing. And we were there talking about this, and she said this line, and it struck me right here between the eyes. She says, you know, let's just be honest with ourselves, church. Let's not kid ourselves, church. And mind you, this was 2 years ago when this happened. And she said, you know, none of the Christians in Nazi Germany stopped the trains either. You know, none of the Christians in Nazi Germany stopped those trains either. Conviction. Let us be moved enough to act. So when they